to make a difference. We'll also build momentum to this very special week where we bring in the Games back. Prince Harry created the Games in 2014. It's great to bring it back to the UK. But it's also important that it has become even more international. From the 14 countries that came to London more than a decade ago to the 26 countries that are represented in these games as such. And also what the armed forces means for the UK, and we'll hear from the Minister later in terms of what the Games coming to Birmingham means, because also Birmingham has a very special part in actually the rehabilitation through sport, as we'll see later in the week. And it really is going to make a massive difference globally. And I want to thank the team from Birmingham who are here today. We'll see more of them, you'll meet more of them as we move forward throughout the week. But it's just a very special week. It's a whole week of celebration. These discussions, these events wouldn't happen without our partners, and I'm really grateful to all of our partners for supporting us on an ongoing basis, and that's ATCO, American Airlines, Clifford Chance, Briganti, Monster, and importantly Boeing, who have been a key sponsor for many years. And this is about long-term relationships. It's not a quick fix. It's not sponsoring a games. It's actually coming in and being part of the family. We were chatting about that earlier in terms of be part of the movement. Yes, money's important, and we'll talk about that. Money is very important, but it's much more than money. It's about engagement as such. When I became chairman 4 years ago, we were celebrating, we just celebrated 10 years. And when Prince Harry asked me to be involved, I had said to him, well, maybe in 3 or 4 years' time, you won't need the organisation. How wrong was I? And that's a sad thing, that basically I think we're needed even more now than we probably were even needed back in 2014. I never thought at my age then effectively I'd see war in Europe, and look what we're facing on a day-to-day basis as such. So that's really important. But those partnerships are really important to us in terms of long-term partnerships. I challenged the team when we had this 10-year celebration. I said, think about 10x. The next decade, we need 10 times more money, we need 10 times more activity, we need 10 times more impact. And the role that we play is really important in terms of that role from a geopolitical perspective, as well as a financial perspective and a very practical perspective to change and save people's lives. And those of you, many here, have been to Games before us. It's quite an inspirational and transformational thing to go to. It really is. And I think I'm very excited about having that on our home ground here in Birmingham. However, there's no person more familiar with what we do than the man who created, our patron and founder of the IGF, Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you to all our supporters, partners and sponsors for being here. It is one of the few rooms or buildings, certainly this room, in the UK that has air conditioning, so I can understand why every seat is full. I get it. But looking around this room, I see people representing different nations, different governments, different militaries, different organizations, and of course, different approaches to recovery. And that's exactly as it should be. No two countries are the same. No two healthcare systems are the same. And no two military cultures are the same either. And what brings us together is far more important than what sets us apart. Every one of us believes that those who have served their country, and in particular those whose lives have been changed by that service, deserve more than our gratitude. They deserve opportunity, the chance to redefine one's purpose and identity. They deserve to truly feel our admiration and respect. And they deserve every chance to build the life that they choose beyond military service. That's what the Invictus community is all about. Now, over the next 2 hours, you'll hear about programs, partnerships, policies, and practical solutions, all in the hope of making progress, which comes when we're prepared to learn from one another. For many people, the Invictus Games are the moment that they first encounter this community. They see extraordinary competitors on the field of play, incredible families supporting from the stands, and they witness resilience in its purest form. But those of us here know that the Games have never been the destination. In many respects, they and the training to get there are the beginning, the catalyst, a spark that can ignite recovery, rebuild confidence, and reconnect people with a community that understands them. The real work happens long before the opening ceremony, and the legacy continues long after the closing. It happens in rehabilitation centres. It happens in local gyms or in their garage, across communities around the world. It happens through families who never give up, through coaches, clinicians, welfare teams, employers, and of course, volunteers. Through veterans supporting veterans. And through leaders who choose to invest in people rather than simply admire their resilience from a distance. One of the greatest privileges of the past 12 years has been meeting wounded, injured, and sick service personnel from every corner of the world. Different languages, different uniforms, very different stories. Yet the same determination, the same humor, the same instinct to keep moving forward, even when the road ahead looks uncertain. And that unconquered spirit isn't unique to one nation. It belongs to all of us. And recognizing that shared humanity is what has allowed this community to grow beyond an event into a global movement. Each country represented here is writing its own chapter. Some have well-established recovery pathways. Others are only just beginning their journey. Neither is more important than the other. Because progress isn't measured by how long you've been doing something. It's measured by your willingness to listen, adapt, and keep improving. That spirit of shared learning is why this Invictus conversation matters. It isn't about finding one perfect model. It's about understanding what works in different contexts and asking how we can make it work for more people. So, how do we remove barriers? How do we create systems that don't just respond to injury, but enable people to thrive afterwards? How do we ensure that recovery isn't defined by a program with an end date, but by a lifetime of opportunity? And these are questions that no one nation can answer alone. But together, we have a remarkable opportunity to learn from one another, to challenge each other, and ultimately to strengthen the support available for every wounded, injured, and sick service person and veteran wherever they live. And I'm also incredibly pleased that today we will welcome another nation into the Invictus community, Uganda. Thank you. Growth has never been about numbers. It's about reaching those who need us most and building partnerships that last and ensuring that no one feels that they're making this journey alone. And to everyone speaking today or asking questions, I hope we approach these conversations with a sense of collective responsibility, a genuine commitment to improving the lives of men and women who have already given so much in service to others. Because this isn't about celebrating individual success stories, however inspiring they are. It's about creating systems that make those success stories possible, changing cultures and expectations, and ensuring that further generations of wounded servicemen and women know that recovery is not something that they face alone. I hope you leave this conference with a deeper understanding of what the Invictus movement really is, and not simply a week of sport every 2 years, but a community united by one belief, that the unconquered human spirit exists in every nation, and that our shared responsibility is to create the conditions in which it can flourish. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that brilliant agenda-setting speech that absolutely sets out our pattern for the conversations about to unfold this afternoon. Our first panel is going to discuss veteran agendas with ministers from three Invictus nations: Canada, Ukraine, and, of course, the four nations represented as part of the UK. I know this is going to be of great interest to Invictus nations representatives here, and after our conversation, there will be a chance for you to ask questions. Our guests are Calvin Bailey, MBE MP, Minister for Veterans and People in the UK Government's Ministry of Defence, the Honourable Jill McKnight, Minister of Veterans Affairs Canada and Associate Minister of National Defence for the Canadian Government, and Minister Natalia Kalmykova, who is the Ukrainian Minister of Veterans Affairs. Would you welcome them all to the platform? I think it would be very good to start with a question for each of you about how important you see Invictus Games as being. Let me start with you, John.
I think Invictus is incredibly important for the inspiration that it creates for the community around the Invictus community, while also building on the strength and the resiliency of the veteran community. And I think bringing those two together has been incredibly powerful in the example that we had in Toronto, but also in the Vancouver Whistler, and seeing how those games grew in momentum. And so coming back to the Invictus Games as the source of that, and also then creating the opportunity for that growth to continue.
Thank you for that. Natalia.
I took this prospect with me to have some veterans of Ukraine here with me on a stage. I think everyone have seen this tremendous picture of Alexei, who was the captain of our team in Vancouver. Every person who went through Invictus in Ukraine flourish. We really see how they change, and with Alexei especially, it was like I have seen him during the competition to participate the team, and then after Vancouver, it was really the person that opened himself, was looking for new opportunities into life. He was smiling. He was have a great sense of humor. Now he made his own non-profit and called it Gentlemen's. And they are playing, and they're involving veterans to play rugby on wheelchair. So Invictus in Ukraine starts a decade ago. This year we celebrated 10 years of Invictus in Ukraine. And it is really the thing that when our country started to face an enormous number of veterans at a time, and the only experience that were around us was the post-Soviet experience after Afghanistan, Invictus was something that brought a new era, new ideas, new approach, and understanding that the end of service, the military service, is not, it's never the end, let's say that. It's how to continue and move forward. And it is not possible to underestimate the influence of Invictus to Ukrainian veterans community, veterans policy, and the whole society.
So I think that's very interesting, the idea of the importance of Invictus, both for a group of people, but also for an individual person. Absolutely. Calvin, what's your answer to that question?
So I'm a Herrick veteran. I'm a veteran of Afghanistan, and I'm also a former Royal Air Force pilot. After the Second World War, when our veterans came back, a lot of them suffered physically and mentally, and I learned when I grew up about how some of those people existed inside society in hidden places and with hidden clubs. What the Duke did for us and for that whole community was flip that on its head and bring everyone that had served to the front of house so that they were recognised by the public, so that the public could share their understanding of the sacrifices that they perhaps themselves didn't understand, but were evident in the manifestation of these people, these warriors coming home.